Hi, Brian Safchik here. What I'd like to talk to you guys about today is a mindset change that really helped me in my career. And so if you're a recruiter and you're really struggling with your resume sent to interview to hire ratio, or if you're getting a lot of candidates to the end of the process and you're having trouble actually getting them over the hump and closing the deal, then this change in mindset should really help you. See, I didn't always do well in the recruitment business. For years and years I struggled. And so once I started changing my mindset and looking for the right things, it made a huge difference in my business and overall in my billings. So that change in mindset is simple. As recruiters, our job is not to screen candidates into the role. It's to screen candidates out of the role. Now let me explain what I mean by that. When you submit a candidate, it should be pretty obvious the things that are right about the role for the candidate, right? So their skill sets and things like that should match up, and that should be pretty obvious. It's the things that aren't so obvious that really make a difference, and recruiters who are able to dig in and find them and troubleshoot them, or realize that this is too big of an issue and we need to walk away from this candidate before we even submit them. Those are the recruiters who build big numbers, right? So let me give you some examples of some of the things you need to screen out, right? So one of the most obvious ones is compensation, right? So, candidates are generally, unless they're not working, candidates are looking for an increase in compensation from where they are right now. It's a pretty easy concept, right? But, if you have a candidate and the absolute, if you know your client, the most they're going to pay, for example, is $120,000 for a position, and your candidate is currently on 115, if the bonus percentages are the same, you're really only going to be able to offer that candidate a $5,000 increase, which is a very low percentage. It's below market. And so you need to have a really specific conversation at that point with the candidate and say, look, I can tell you right now, the job is going to pay this. This is the most it can pay. You're already at the upper end of the range. If you love this job and we get to the end here and they can only offer you, $5,000 more than you're on right now, is that going to be okay? Because if it's not, we need to walk away now, because, frankly, there are some scenarios where clients find some money, but if you know your client well and you know that there's a hard stop at a particular number, you need to be really upfront with your candidate about it, because many candidates will go through an interview process thinking, well, if I blow out this interview, they'll find some more money for me. And you know what? There are some instances where that happens, but I would say by and large, that doesn't happen. So you need to troubleshoot any compensation issues right away. But some less obvious things to look for. If you're looking at a candidate's resume and you notice that they're currently in business school, well, you want to ask the candidate, is your current company paying for that? Is there any tuition reimbursement that you're getting from your current company? Because the reason for that is, if that candidate leaves and goes to another company, there's a pretty good chance that that candidate's going to owe some of that tuition back to their company if they leave. And it's not just that number. It's a number much higher than that, because, for instance, if I owe $10,000 to my company if I leave, well, my new company is going to have to give me probably somewhere around $18,000, so that after taxes, I have $10,000 to pay my old company back. So that number is going to have to be grossed up. So that's something that you have to troubleshoot and think about right away. Other things are like visas, right? So if you're seeing that your candidate hasn't spent much time in this country, and maybe they just got an advanced degree here, you need to ask them, are you on any type of work visa? What type of visa? How long do you have left on the visa? There are some visas out there that are not transferable. And then there's some companies that won't do visa transfers. So you have to understand that stuff, because, sometimes candidates don't offer that information up at the beginning. Other things to look out for, long-term incentive, stock. Does your candidate have any stock vesting in the next 12 months? How much of it is? How much is it? You need to determine. Does my client need to buy any of this out? A lot of candidates don't pay attention to how much stock they have vesting, or what their situation is. They just it goes into an account and they forget about it, and they don't realize until the end that suddenly they have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stock that is about to vest, that they'd be walking away from if they left their current company. So, and that's another thing that's obviously tied to the compensation piece. And another big thing is relocation. So with relocation, there's a million set of questions that come off the back of relocation, right? If your company's offering a relocation and you have a candidate who says they're willing, you got to find out. I mean, have you already had that discussion with your spouse? Does your spouse work? What does the person do? Is their job, are they going to be able to do that type of work in the new location? Do you have any kids? What grades are the kids in? Because kids in high school, having kids in high school is the number one reason why people don't relocate. Do you own a house? Is your house underwater? There's a million questions. So there's all things that you need to think about. And so having that mindset of trying to screen candidates out of the role and finding the areas where this deal could go wrong should greatly help you going forward to determine, to understand your pipeline and say, okay, is this a forecastable deal? Is this deal actually going to happen or not? And it'll also allow you to troubleshoot some of the problems. So anyway, that's my tip for today. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, feel free to share the video. Feel free to comment at the bottom. I'd love to hear any comments you have, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks.